So welcome back, ladies and gents. Hopefully you didn't go too far away for your screens because we've got a great game coming up in just a moment. It'll be Virtus.Pro up against Evil Panda Squad. Now, I cannot wait for this one. How are you feeling about this game?
It's going to be interesting because, as you said, the last time these two saw each other was at the Gamescom offline finals of Season 2. So, obviously, Virtus.Pro won against Evil Panda Squad that time around, but they're looking a little bit weaker this season.
Yeah, they are. They're looking like maybe... this could be a bit of a different outcome, maybe, just maybe. I don't want to kind of put too many kind of predictions into this one just yet, because there's obviously a lovely lady who can take you guys through how you guys at home can get involved with us here in the studio with your predictions, which is exactly what we want to hear, because we love hearing from you guys at home, because otherwise we get sad and lonely here, and it's only just really us. There's 4 of us in here, but you only get to see 3. So let's introduce the lovely social media guru herself. Melly, how are we doing over there, and how can people at home get involved?
It's actually pretty easy. Head over to our social media pages on Facebook and Twitter and like us, follow us to stay updated. I will update our Twitter account, for example, during every map. So you can actually know the score, the current score in the Pro League matches without watching the stream. And that's pretty awesome if you're in train or in class or wherever without access to Twitch TV. And yeah. Comes to Twitch TV, also follow our Twitch channel to get notified when we're going live. That's very, very important. And we have a vote on our Facebook page where you at home have to vote for your favorite team or your favorite team in the matchup, just to see how you think about the upcoming matchup itself. And you can also hand in your predictions for the exact outcome of the match, and secure you maybe 1 of 3 bonus codes if you get lucky, and of course the exact right scoreline. And that's not all. We have a lot more bonus codes for you at home. The next way of winning bonus codes is getting rewarded as 1 of the 3 tweets of the day. So basically you have to tweet. Tweet us everything what's on your mind. If it's feedback or questions to Ollie and Lauren, they love to answer them. And I want to know from you which map you would ban in a competitive match. So nobody tweeted about that.
Get tweeting.
So far, so.
Get tweeting.
Exactly. Get involved.
Well, there you go. Get involved. Get your tweets through to us here, obviously, in the studio, because we'd love to hear from you, and obviously your thoughts about what map you really wouldn't want to be playing in one of these official games. Maybe what's your strongest map? What's your weakest one? Put it into account. Maybe you don't like Abby. Maybe you don't like the way Mines has played out. Let us know, because we love hearing your thoughts, obviously, because without you guys at home, we wouldn't be doing much. So let's get a look towards the lineups today, because these 2 teams, you've got to know them by now. There's no need for us to tell you every single one. But why don't you take us through the captains and the standout players from these 2? So
Kreet is the team captain of Virtus.Pro. He did actually end up replacing the infamous Derp after a rather disappointing 2nd place. That's for, obviously, Virtus.Pro. I mean, they expected to come first after 21 wins and only 1 loss in Season 1. So he's the team captain, he's the shot caller, a really fantastic team captain as well. Diver is the team manager. Kusok is going to be playing. He plays all sorts. He migrated first from artillery to heavy tanks, and then from heavy tanks, which he still plays, to something like an AMX 3090. Emelka, T69 player. A standout player for this time round, I'm looking towards Just Cause, as I've given up on Breakneck after disappointing me many times around. After calling him the best player in Virtus.Pro. For Evil Panda Squad, we've got Zenith and Sony as their two team captains, team managers. We've got old star players like New Multi-Show, Ace, Eclipse, not quite as old as those 2, Mickey Man and Sky Spirit. Although Mungan is up there, he's actually gone back to his old team, Volupsa, another Polish team, so he's not going to be playing. He's left the team altogether. And we've got UCI and PL. He's joined for this season. And Lucas Yisti as well. He's come from GF Gaming. So a couple of roster changes for Evil Panda Squad. Virtus.Pro is pretty much the same team, though. We saw it in Season 2. So Evil Panda Squad, they're not going to be too phased by that. They've already had 12 match days so far to get used to them. And I think, honestly, they have a good chance here. They certainly have a good chance. Virtus.Pro's not had the greatest start to their season. They've lost a couple of match days. So Evil Panda Squad need to use that. They need to use that to their advantage and really just go for that first win, because that'll give them the momentum. That'll give them the option of getting themselves into this game. Once they have that, as we saw with D-Nova, they can just start getting the results over and over again.
Yeah, and that's the big thing with Evil Panda Squad. Once they get that one big victory behind them, they can really start building themselves into the season, because they have been a little bit quiet. Fourth, maybe not where I'd hope to see them, especially after the way Season 2 finished. But as you said, when they get into those bigger games as well, they become so strong. Like, they become, you know, the Evil Panda Squad that they can be, but they have to be pushed to it sometimes. When, you know, the big pressure's on them, they can go, okay, guys, this is worth turning really up for. And that's what we have to hopefully see here. They aren't just getting ready for the tank picking, so hopefully that'll start any moment now. But we can have a little talk about what maps you think they're going to be at least going for here, and what maps maybe Evil Panda Squad can actually have a good shot against Virtus.Pro. And because, as you mentioned, the big Russian teams, sometimes they're so drilled in towards, you know, specific maps, let's say, it takes a big kind of change up in strategy for Evil Panda Squad to kind of throw them off their game. What sort of maps do you think might have that sort of element on it?
Yeah, I think Prokhorovka and Steps, because they're a little bit harder to train. Evil Panda Squad might be able to take a map like Ensk, although Virtus.Pro, they have a lot of players on that team that are really in love with Ensk. They love that map. They think it's a fantastic map, so they might struggle there, but I think they can get themselves at least Steps, Prokhorovka, Ruenberg maybe as well. It might be an option for them. Any one of those maps which are just not easy to train, and you can come up with infinite amount of tactics, whereas, you know, Himmelsdorf, there's only a set amount of tactics you can really pull off. You know, there's only a certain amount of routes. You can go over the hill, you can go over the 8 road, you can go over the 1, 2, 3 line. But our first map will be Abbey. Tank picking has begun, so we can jump straight into that. It has begun with 2 T1s for Evil Panda Squad and 2 T1s for Virtus.Pro. I'm expecting to see at least 150-100 somewhere here in the mix, as well as just a general MX-3090 T69 lineup. They're wanting to have the hull-down tanks, the T69, just there to do the damage, to provide that versatility they need in this game.
I think this is one of the first times we're actually seeing Abbey being one of the first maps as well. What do you think that really means for the long run of this game?
I'm pretty sure this is the first time this season we've seen Abbey as the first map. It's quite surprising, because you kind of see the teams wanting to go onto something like Himmelsdorf, Ruenberg, or Ensk, where they can kind of warm up onto. Yeah. Whereas Abbey, it's very hard. You can't really get into your stride on this map, for most teams at least. So it'd be interesting to see if either Virtus.Pro or Evil Panda Squad pick this one. But AMX-3090 is also going to come out from both teams, and that's going to come out twice for Evil Panda Squad. So far for Evil Panda Squad, a double AMX-3090, a double T1, and a double T69, looking for that last pick. But Virtus.Pro, double T1, AMX-3090, and a T69. Probably, I would think, a Pershing, although it's a little bit slower than a T69, could also come in.
We also don't see that many Pershings really on this map. It's the one that I'm still seeing the T69s kind of being picked up here. And what do you think that is? Is there any sort of benefit to the T69 over it, especially on Abbey?
On Abbey, it's the map where you want to be looking for that first tier 8 tank kill as quickly as possible. You just want to be removing it, and the T69 with its burst damage is a lot better than the Pershing, which is just a general, altogether a good tank, better at sniping, a bit more sustained damage, etc. Yeah, as a T69, it's just a burst, really, and that's what it provides, and that's what Abbey needs. And I honestly think the MX-3090, I'm always a little bit surprised to see it, although it may just be picked because it's the only option. It's the fast tank. It does a lot of damage. But the MX-3090 T69 is going to be the next pick for Virtus.Pro as well. So just the standard picks from both teams as we head into the last one, which is pretty much where we could see something like a Pershing or a 416, or what Evil Panda Squad has done, which is go for the 50-100. So they've gone for the double MX-3090, double T69, 50-100, double T1, and that goes for Virtus.Pro as well. So both teams with their mirrored lineups. Nice to see, because that means any fluky picks like a 416 won't really alter the results that much.
Well, let's find out if Evil Panda Squad can finally buck the trend of Virtus.Pro always being a little bit better than them online. In the offline events, it's very close. It's very hard to define the two. But this time around, it could change. Maybe Evil Panda Squad have something building up. They want to get into that top 3. They want to start challenging the big guys. This is where they start. Dignitas is almost too far away, but Virtus.Pro are within catching distance these days. It would not take too many victories for Evil Panda Squad to get beside them, and what a way to kick it off. On a map like Abbey, it'd be absolutely perfect with almost mirrored lineups. It'd be a fantastic sight to see if these guys can really get that kind of bit of confidence building, getting that, you know, real momentum momentum behind them, which is exactly what they need here. If Virtus.Pro get caught off guard, which is quite hard on Abby, because as you said, it's fairly defined routes of attack. It's very hard to get any sort of minuscule kind of adaptation going. So hopefully we can start seeing Evil Panda Squad really work their just, you know, standard strategies here that will pay off for them. And I'm looking at the likes of WoT to step up and be that key player and be the player he can be, but very quickly. That's where he has to come into effect. It can't be midway through this. If they want to be Virtus.Pro, they've got to do it damn quickly. You can't mess around with these guys. They're so strong. So guys, let's get ourselves, you know, prepared for what we could be seeing here. Make sure you get your predictions through to us via Twitter because we love to hear them. So let's get ready for that introduction video towards Abby.
Welcome to Abbey, a hard but gratifying map to master. Abbey is 1,000 by 1,000 meters and has 3 main routes of attack. The left mountainous area, through the Abbey in the middle, or in the trench to the right. The housed Abbey area in the middle, the winding trench road, and the treacherous mountainous area. The Abbey area can be moved upon on a central road. Often the two teams battle it out for the higher ground. The mountainous area often sees intense action as it overlooks the Abbey and provides key access to the enemy's base. The base area can also be accessed via the trench and is a common route of attack. It is essential to defend your base. Teams must pay close attention to their tank setups and in particular how they utilize them to greatest effects on what is a very complicated map.
So, welcome into the first map here. It will be Abbey, and we will be seeing Evil Panda Squad in the gold and yellow up in the north against the rather blue-coloured Virtus.Pro, who are rather zoomed in on your screen. We'll fix that, don't you worry. But what are we seeing so far between these two?
So Virtus.Pro just going straight over towards the mountainside, not messing about at all. This is their standard tactic, after all, for the southern spawn of Abbey. While Evil Panda Squad going over completely over towards that mountainside as well. They put a couple of tanks in the middle, though. A T1 there, and obviously an AMX-3090 in the background just to provide any kind of backup. It's quite interesting to see Entex play for Virtus.Pro today. He has not been playing so much. He's been kind of phased out. He might have just come back from holiday, I'm not sure. But the first shell's going to connect from Evil Panda Squad. Ace, in fact, in his T69, catching Breakneck off guard there. That's a gun depression from the MX-3090, not helping them at all. I think a T69 would be better in that situation, but obviously the MX-3090 can get there quicker.
Yeah, and a great bit of damage done already. Breakneck down to 850. That's perfect play. And Evil Panda Squad are looking fairly well cemented into here. You are seeing that middle exchange going down. The T1's battling out. But bear in mind, Evil Panda Squad did split Zenef up there earlier on in that 1390. So that will be won eventually by Evil Panda Squad, no matter which way that really goes. So you can see Sony there just kind of battling out with Karitz. But then if we do want to see the likes of Zenef coming into the action, if he fancies it, he can do. But playing fairly passively, they don't want to show their full hand. They don't want to show that they may be weaker along that 1 and 2 section than Virtus.Pro would be. So it's going to be interesting to see how this folds out. And what can Virtus.Pro do here now to get themselves back in towards that 1 and 2 line? Or should they just readjust?
They're readjusting at the moment. They're sending Just Cause and Breakneck playing the fastest tanks, the MX-3090, setting straight to the middle to try and deal with the tank which is on its own, which is obviously Zenef. Playing his AMX-3090, so 2 against 1, and obviously Karitz in the background to make sure that he's not moving.
Yeah, but look at this. Zenef already kind of expected that. I can imagine Evil Panda Squad, no Virtus.Pro by now. He's already hot on the rotate to join in down that 1 and 2 line. They have given up that central position, but they've only lost a tier 1. Now they want to start focusing their move towards this section, down that 1 and 2 area. Ace, Luke, and WoT both making their way down now. I'm curious to see if they're going to go for the full execution here.
Evil Panda Squad are just charging their way into it. Virtus.Pro know it, though. They know exactly what's happening. They know exactly what will happen when the MX-3090 gets spotted in the middle. But it'll be Evil Panda Squad to push on. But they're the firing squad of Virtus.Pro.
Lucas is in trouble. He's down to 864. He's focused on Delight. He's allowed Ace to come in and help him out as well. But WoT needs to back away. He cannot just outstay his welcome here. There's so many members of Virtus.Pro raring to go. The shells aren't completely landing like they'd want to as well. They've got some good damage, but look at that. Luke does receive another shell. Zenef gets into the action, as does Eclipse. But Ace is not done. He's pushing straight forward. But he's held in place. He's been tracked. Finally gets mobile, gets the hell out of there. Eclipse comes in, as does Zenith, but they're not taking anyone down. They've got them all so low, so weak, but none have fallen. Completely focused here. Ace needs to back off. He is down so low. 11 HP is not where you want to be. Numocho pushing in, though. He's not going to back off in this situation. He can smell blood. He thinks he might have a chance here, but he's down to 500 HP. Make it 290. He can't outstay his welcome. He's been tracked. He could go down. He's allowed them in here. And my word, this means trouble for Evil Panda Squad. They just lost Lucas, and this is falling so far away from them. They were not able to land the shells they needed so badly, and Just Cause just rotating round the back, using that 1390 at what it's best at. Oh my word, he is mopping up so many members right now of Evil Panda Squad. He will come back in to get the 4th, and this has been absolute annihilation. Well done, Just Cause. You have proven exactly why that 1390 is such a pivotal tank on a map like this.
Pushing around onto the back of Evil Panda Squad, and what was interesting was that Evil Panda Squad were losing the fight 5 versus 4 anyway. So even if Just Cause didn't push around his AMX 3090, I think Virtus.Pro would have won the engagement. They would have, well, they had the HP advantage and they had the positional advantage. Evil Panda Squad not quite executing perfectly, not being brave enough, not pushing in far enough, and that will give Virtus.Pro the first win, which will be on Abby, as you just saw. And again, you know, once Evil Panda Squad pushed in, they kind of already committed to that movement. They couldn't sit there, sit back and just wait for Virtus.Pro to get their tanks around, because that's what you do on Abby in that situation. So just generally good patient play from Virtus.Pro. They knew exactly what Evil Panda Squad would do once that MX 1390 in the middle was spotted. They knew exactly how to react to that situation as well. Yep. Just very good play altogether, hitting the shells they needed to hit, and that just creeped down the Evil Panda Squad's HP quite a lot. Allowed Just Cause to mop in with the MX 1390 despite taking a lot of damage. So just generally a good all-around execution, although not perfect from Virtus.Pro.
Not perfect. Now, the thing I want to point out is, even though Just Cause did get 4 kills that game, which is huge, and they were big kills, he only got 1.2k damage, so every single member was really playing their role there for Virtus.Pro. No member was, you know, slacking. No one really got excluded. They all hit around that 1.5, 1.4, 1.3, and all the way down. Every single member, excluding the T1s who did their job anyway. So really impressive stuff all round from Virtus.Pro, and that's what they're so good at, just being that team, you know what I mean? It takes one individual to make the difference, in essence, you know, the way that it was Just Cause, but every single member could have done that then. There's nothing stopping a T69 in theory from trying, you know, something similar. It may not have paid off so well, but it was just the fact that Just Cause did it. He was a lot, you know, better equipped to make it count, and Virtus.Pro looking strong already. Now, that's their danger already kind of being shown to us. So they're just so good at dealing with those situations. You're head on. They're just so strong. Second map will be Himmelsdorf. Now, this is, you know, the infamous one for Evil Panda Squad. These guys go for that crazy mid push, which I just don't see working against Virtus.Pro. Not here. But we'll find out. The tank picks have begun. But what sort of variation do you think Evil Panda Squad need to bring here on the second map? You
know, Virtus.Pro also do that middle push, so we could see something quite alarming, which will be both teams just duking out in the middle. Yeah, I mean, if that situation did happen, it would literally be down to luck who would win. I think these two teams are of that caliber. Who would get the higher damage roll? Who would get the lucky bounces? Who would get the lucky penetrations? So if we do see that, which I don't think we will, it will be awfully interesting and something we've never seen before. But double T1 from Virtus.Pro, double T1 from Evil Panda Squad, getting those two T1s away, which will mean that both teams will pick just a 5 times tier 8 tank lineup to bring up the points to 40, plus those two T1s equals 42. Maths is a good thing. But I think, honestly, Virtus.Pro, they like that triple IS3 lineup. They've also picked a T32 in the past, so we'll have to see if that one comes in again. Denovo picked the Pershing as well. So maybe it did work. It might actually end up working here. But for Evil Panda Squad, I honestly think they'll also be looking for that triple IS3. You might even go for the triple MX 5100. But I think generally they have the better IS3 players than the 5100 players. Obviously, New Multi shows is a great 5100 player in general. So he
was fairly quiet in the first map, though.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
I think it was more of the situation they were stuck in than anything else. He couldn't really dig his team out of that hole. But IS3 5100 are the two proper tank picks from Virtus.Pro and Evil Panda Squad. So mirrored picks as we would expect to start us off with. The IS3 5100 is also going to be picked by Virtus.Pro as their next one, bringing their tally up to a double IS3, double 5100. And I imagine Evil Panda Squad will do the very same. They will do that. In fact, they'll do the IS3 and the 5100. So just the double IS3, double 5100 as we go into the last two tank picks, the last tank picks from each team. IS3 is going to be as predicted from Virtus.Pro. So the triple IS3, double 5100, double T1 is the standard stuff, and that will go for Evil Panda Squad as well. So once again, as it was on Abby, a mirrored lineup from both teams. It'll be the triple IS3, double 5100, double T1, which will make things awfully interesting because mirrored lineup always provides that extra element. You know, it doesn't come down to the strange tank picks like a 416 or something similar. WZ132. It's just about the player skill and coordination.
Yeah, I love it when it's just that pure skill alone. You know what I mean? So you can really see the difference of players, because in situations like this is where you start seeing new Multishow, doing wonders, or you might see, maybe Just Cause coming in doing really well on the IS3, and it's just about that individual stepping up in the moment. And I can't wait to find out who's going to be that real key player here, because there's always one to do it. There's always that one player who just kind of chimes in above the rest. And well, hopefully Evil Panda Squad can do something here, because they certainly need to. It cannot get away from them. We're seeing so many games going 4-1, 5-0s. They can't afford to let that happen, especially of how close it is from 4th to around, even 9th at the moment. Every team has a chance to get themselves into that top 6. They can't allow this one to slip away. Hopefully they can turn it around here on Himmelsdorf. It's certainly a map they could try it on, but Virtus.Pro, they're so strong. So guys, let's get you ready for that introduction video towards Himmelsdorf.
Himmelsdorf is the city maps of city maps. It's a small one, being 600 by 600 meters. There are 3 routes of attack: the hill, the banana, and the train side. The middle area is relatively easy to push, however can end up in disaster as you can be flanked from every side. The road, often called Banana, allows for direct head-on assaults but requires a lot of resources. Both the railroad area and the road next to it are good routes of attack, being very open and straight. However, for those very same reasons, you can be easily caught out and taken down. The map features many densely housed areas, which provides good places for engagements and routes of attack. Teams must be aware of the various routes their opponents can take through the map, as well as the hull-down positions enemies can take throughout the entire map. The trick with Himmelsdorf is to catch an enemy tank unsupported by his teammates and then use that advantage to collapse on the entire enemy team.
So welcome into the second map. As Joe said, it will be Himmelsdorf. And in the north, in that golden yellow, it's Evil Panda Squad facing off against currently the advantageous side of Virtus.Pro, who are up 1 map. What are we seeing so far here? So
Virtus.Pro doing what I would expect them to do a little bit, and that's push a lot of tanks up that 8 line, the banana road straight away. 2 in their crazy middle push, which hasn't really worked that many times before. But maybe if they do it enough times, they'll manage to get it work, but they'll get crossfired from Evil Panda Squad straight away.
Yeah, it's Zenith and Lucas both getting some good damage towards Kusok, and, well, it wasn't Just Cause, actually. You stayed fairly unscathed here. And, well, Virtus.Pro have got some great foothold towards the central reservation of the map. Amelka pushing through, Kusok, Just Cause, all lining up here. Eclipse, Ace, and everyone else a little bit curious as to where to go, but New Multishow and Delight battling out now head-to-head, trying to get towards each other in the best of ways. And let's see if we can spin across them. It's New Multishow just facing right down towards Delight on that 3 line, but in the meantime, they're all folding in together, and this could be the undoing. Karitz and Breakneck just staring down the remains. Eclipse is in trouble, but it's actually Lucas to fall first of all. He's out of there. Eclipse, Zenith, and Ace all lining up. Kusok gets knocked away on 200 HP, but there's the damage. There is that penetration. They're so damn good along that Virtus.Pro side. They're so good at making this count, and now just Eclipse and Ace try and stay alive down the banana line. Try and hold on for Christ's sake, because their entire team is falling apart besides them. Eclipse receives another shell. He's down at only 700 HP, finally gets that reload up. Can be looking to maybe challenge Just Cause, because they're making their move. They're not holding back. The T1's already going towards the flag. They're going blow for blow right here. Breakneck now pushing in. Sitting Pretty does that damage dealing blow towards Eclipse. Now just Ace alive. He is completely and utterly alone. Sky Spirit is nowhere to be found. He's got Virtus.Pro absolutely ripping him to shreds. Breakneck will land that killing blow, and this has been another rather one-sided game as Sky Spirit leaps to his death. And, well, I don't blame him, because Virtus.Pro use 1 single tank, and that has got to be hurting.
2 minutes and 15 seconds that game was.
Is that just being the record? I think we need to get some,
I think that was a record. I'm pretty sure it was. But, oh my God! Honestly, I don't even know what happened then. I think at the
I
end
don't think Evil Panda Squad knew what happened then. They just got absolutely trounced.
Got annihilated.
Ouch.
They kind of annihilated themselves in many respects. When Virtus.Pro does that tactic, you should do what Kazakrew did, and that's just let Virtus.Pro play into it and then just find their way in once they've started on the rotate. But what Evil Panda Squad tried to do was come around onto them, and it was just awful because they found Umelka getting the shots on from the back, and they obviously had the two IS3s in the middle just to stop them as soon as they came around the corner. And then to the left, you have Delight in his 5100 ready to provide the firepower from there. So they were surrounded on all sides, and the whole of Virtus.Pro just absolute baiting Evil Panda Squad. And then you had obviously Delight. He kind of charged in. He did some good damage, and 2.3k coming out. Altogether, a very strong performance from Virtus.Pro. Kind of, you know, you could be argued that Evil Panda Squad beat themselves in many respects there, and not just playing out and being patient and just waiting for their opportunity. Because, you know, if there's an obvious opportunity against a team like Virtus.Pro, it's quite often manufactured by Virtus.Pro in the first place. So there's no point taking it. Just wait your time, bide your time, and make your own opportunities.
So they kind of fell into the Virtus.Pro trap there of, we've got a chance, maybe we can do... Oh, wait, no, we've just kind of lost in like a second. We blinked and kind of missed it. It was like even New Mulcho got completely locked out of that one. But maybe they can change something on Ensk, which will be the next map. I'm still like taken back, like, where did Himmelsdorf just go? Like, I love watching that map, but apparently I get to see 30 seconds worth of it today. But let's look towards Ensk because the tank picks have begun. And we are seeing the usual start here. But as you said, maybe this could be where Evil Panda Squad can change something. What do they need to do on this?
I said, you know, as you said, Evil Panda Squad do have a chance on Ensk. I'm not sure if this is exactly the best map for Virtus.Pro. I know quite a lot of their players enjoy it, but whether they can get the results on it, it's another question. Dinova actually took this one against them at Gamescom. So T1 ×2 from both teams, IS3 ×2 from both teams. This is Ensk, so we do see variations in lineups. It's not the Himmelsdorf lineups all the time. We've seen a 4-1-6 in here. We've seen a 1-10 in here. We've seen all sorts of things. So we could see something here. We've even seen a double grill from Mouse Sports on this one. Obviously, it didn't work against Team Dignitas, but whatever you can try and do to get your edge and you know, surprise the other team. Double 5100 is going to be the next pick for an Evil Panda Squad, as it will be for Virtus.Pro. So just completely standard so far. Double T1, double IS3, double 5100. And that's for both of them as we go into the last and final pick, which could be something a little bit strange. But I would expect the Evil Panda Squad, as they have, to take an IS3 or a 5100. It'll be the IS3 for Evil Panda Squad, and it will be the aim at 5100 for Virtus.Pro. So the only real difference is that Virtus.Pro has taken the extra 5100 in regards to Evil Panda Squad. They've taken the extra IS3, so 3 times IS3, 2 times 5100, 2 times T1 for Evil Panda Squad, and the triple 5100, double IS3, double T1 for the side of Virtus.Pro.
So the big thing here is that Evil Panda Squad need this map. They have to get it if they want to go on with at least a chance of winning this, because unless they possibly play for a draw and then go through and pick up the other maps and then play literally the longest road for a draw, they have to win this one. And it's not going to be easy because Virtus.Pro are so good at it. Every Russian, for some reason, is insanely good at this map. I don't know what happens to these guys, but they all know how to play it. They're so damn good at it, and Virtus.Pro are not going to be a walk in the park. But if there's going to be any time to catch Virtus.Pro at maybe a moment of, you know, relaxation or, you know, vulnerability, it could be now. So let's get ourselves prepared towards Ensk.
Ensk is a simple map on the face of it, but requires the most skillful team play to play properly. Being such a small map at 600 by 600 meters, the areas of attack are confined to through the city, through the railroads, or through the green zone. The fearsome city side, often famed for its fierce firefights, the railroads and green zone areas are hard to play as they have many death alleys. The railroads provide little cover but good sniping locations. Tanks can shoot over and navigate through the trains to ambush and weaken the opposition. When playing Ensk, always keep in mind that teams may try and rush for the cap and not go for the city brawl. Also, take tanks that can both deal a lot of damage and react quickly to situations.
So welcome into the third and what could be defining map for Evil Panda Squad if they don't manage to pick it up. Facing off against Virtus.Pro, who will be in the north in that blue. So let's find out what they're up to so far. What are they currently going for?
Virtus.Pro just charging heavily into that city, which is their standard stuff. They love the city fights, they love the brawls. They don't want to be caught out in some strange situation. But it looks like Evil Panda Squad also going pretty aggressive, sending Lucas Yisti in his IS3 far up. He does actually proxy spot Kusok, or it might just be in a direct line spot. But Evil Panda Squad, apart from Lucas Yisti, sitting quite far back in the base. They've even sent 2 AMX5100s and 1 T1 up towards that green zone, looking to try something new, which will be very good because they can't do the standard tactics against Virtus.Pro.
No, it just doesn't work anymore. These guys are too good on that one-to-one basis, especially with lineups so close as this, with just the variation of a 5100 and that IS3. They've got to have something up their sleeve. Maybe that little bit of a split down towards that railroad green area might be it. Sky Spirit, Zenef, New Multishow, all edging their way down there. There's still a fair, chunk of the Evil Panda Squad side close to their flag, but they're giving up a lot of this section, and I think Virtus.Pro are catching on to that. Lucas already has received 1 shell. I can imagine that's from Kusok there, as he was the furthest forward player. But right now, what can Evil Panda Squad do here?
They have to try something new, and I think they are trying. I mean, Lucas Yisti kind of gave away the chase by pushing up there towards the midline, but it's not that indicative of anything. I think anything Evil Panda Squad does try will be across that green zone. That's where most of their tanks are, only leaving 1 IS3 back in the base to defend. The rest of their tanks going out forwards, but Eclipse has also been spotted. That might give Virtus.Pro the information they need.
Yeah, and look at this right now. These guys are looking like they want to make something happen. We haven't seen a full green commitment. We do see Zenef still there, but look at New Multishow as well, down towards that railroad. Most of the firepower now centralized towards the middle of this map. Karit's doing his job in that T1, spotting them out. Zenef and New Multishow pushing their way up. It seems that they want to use, the railroad as a line of fire. Virtus.Pro do not fall for this lightly. It's slightly reminiscent of, let's say, maybe Mouse Sports, the way they play it, and we saw how badly that went for Mouse Sports last time, but maybe, just maybe, Evil Panda Squad have something, left in store here. These 5100s need to make a big play right now, but they're being currently the front runners rather than the tier 1s who normally scout this out. Is this a bit of a dangerous all-in play at the moment?
It's a very dangerous all-in play, and Virtus.Pro have cottoned onto it immediately, being a very clever team. Delight just calls there to try and deal with anything that's coming through. Eclipse is going to dodge that shell quite spectacularly. Delight not managing to connect that one. It's interesting to see how Virtus.Pro are playing differently from most other teams that push up this situation, but they've also gone quite heavily into the middle area, and Kusok's in trouble.
Yeah, Kusok actually got a good bit of shell damage done from Eclipse, so I think it's just been tracked and held in place there. So Breakneck is pushing in. Lucas is in trouble, and Melka's already pushed round. Zenef is nowhere to be found, neither is New Multishow, but Eclipse has taken down Kusok. Can they find at least Breakneck as well? Can they win this central battle? They need to make it happen. They need to make it happen damn quickly. Breakneck now completely focusing down Eclipse, but the battle for the cap has begun. Delight and Amelka do manage to take down Sony and Zenef. New Multishow comes back in with 1, but he's got 2 targets facing him down. They need to focus out these battles. They need to start winning them. They cannot be this separated. Lucas, Ace, and Eclipse winning their retrospective battles get themselves now with a chance, at least facing down Delight and Amelka, and they've turned this one on its head. They've made it count, and Ace now moving in towards Amelka, gets that first shell damage done. That's what he needed. That 5100 gets taken out by Lucas, and now just Delight stands really in any sort of position on the reload, being hunted down by the hungry Evil Pandas, who are not letting him get away. Surely not. 50 seconds on the cap. He has 3 players hot on his heels, and 59 HP is not going to save him in this one. As talented as this man is, if Lucas wants this, he can get it. He's already got 2. He's looking for the hat trick. He's just steps away, but Delight swats him off, and he continues to save at least a little bit of face, but Ace will be there, and we have seen Evil Panda Squad putting up a fight at 2-1 now. So End Squad's really strangely played out by them, but they made it work.
They made it work perfectly, and once again, Kusok getting caught out in the middle of the courtyard next to that Stalin statue. I think it is Stalin anyway. And honestly, I have no idea what Virtus.Pro were doing then. I can kind of see where they were coming from, wanting to just find a weakness once the 2 MX5100 had been caught out, and Sky Spirit in that T1 along the green zone coming from the train side. And they wanted just to, they knew the 5100, which is the majority of firepower in the team, and they wanted to push on something a little bit weaker, the IS-3s. But then those IS-3s just simply outplayed Virtus.Pro's IS-3s. There's no two ways about it. Lucas Yisti, he overstayed his welcome along that line, but he just about got out there in time on 273 HP, so that was lucky, and he did some absolutely amazing damage against Kusok. So just generally, I honestly think in terms of the one-on-one tank action, Virtus.Pro just got outplayed, just simple as that. And, the 5100s from the Evil Panda squad were a little bit late to the party after having to deal with Delight and Just Cause, and that was another problem for Virtus.Pro. Delight and Just Cause were there to deal with the cap pressure, but they weren't quite in the right positions. They didn't get back and support their own IS-3s in the firefight, which would obviously give them a huge advantage. And I think at the end of the day, Evil Panda squad just continued. They kept the pressure on, and it left Delight on his own on 56 HP, which was no problem.
See, the thing that worried me was the fact that New Multishow, I think it was Zenith as well, were fairly late to help out those tanks down that central line. And I felt as though that's when Virtus.Pro make their mark. When any mistakes are made, they always pounce. But then they were really segregated. They didn't have that kind of cohesion that normally comes so naturally to Virtus.Pro. And I was like, so where are these guys? There's an opportunity. They aren't taking it, and they just seem to be caught out. And as you mentioned, the best thing that I love to see is the fact that you did say that the only time you're ever going to really beat these guys is when you go for a little bit of a change.
New. Exactly.
That's what happened. They switched it up. They took a risk on, basically game point, really. If they lost that one, it'd be 3-2 at best for, Evil Panda squad, even though they would have lost. So risky play, but it's paid off, and it's kept them in this one. So next map will be Ruinberg, and I'm not sure what to expect anymore. It allows for a lot of variation. We've seen a lot of teams using that city area, not just, completely focusing on the village. So do you think this might be another one where Evil Panda squad can pull something out?
Ruinberg does allow for a little bit of variation. I mean, I think what's interesting about Ruinberg, but there's basically two ways you can play. You can play towards the village, or you can play towards the city. But the way you can play towards the village and the city, it can change fantastically. Like we saw in the previous game, Dinova versus Kazakru, it all turned out to be the middle road, and just who won that engagement, who was the more brave. Obviously, Dinova came out there, but in the village, there's little spaces between houses, all sorts of awkward shots you can do. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfectly timed. So honestly, I think if Evil Panda squad can just keep the pressure on and just try something new again, and not get tempted to go where Virtus.Pro goes all the time, which is towards a village, then they can just take another win and bring it up to 2-2. And Virtus.Pro, last match, they also went down to 3-2. So honestly, it's just looking all right for Evil Panda squad right now.
It's not looking bad. If they can do this, there's nothing stopping them going all the way. So I do believe these guys are almost ready for tank picks. So let's jump into that screen, ready and waiting. Now, what do you think we're going to actually see coming out from these guys in this sort of aspect towards tank choices? Because we don't see, any 416s ever really being featured on this. We've rarely, I think we might have seen one Pershing maybe, but it's not a real kind of common pick. Do you think we're going to see, the normal start, or do you think we might see a bit of variation? Or is this not the time for tank variation for Evil Panda squad?
Evil Panda squad, even if, let's say, 416 may serve them better on a certain map, they're a team that just don't go for any variation. They're literally set in stone in terms of their lineups. They just don't want to try anything new just for the sake of it, which I think is also an advantage as much as it is a disadvantage, because we've seen like the Pershing and the 416 just absolutely amazing plays and really carrying the team in some games, but in others just going really badly. So Evil Panda squad don't want that factor. They just want to have every T crossed and I dotted at the end of the day. They don't want to be going for all sorts of weird variables that can just screw up their game. But I think that also goes with Virtus.Pro as well. I mean, the only thing that really comes to mind is that T32 they picked on Himmelsdorf. Other than that, they're a team that also picks the standard things. So double T1 from both. I'm expecting to be an AMX 3090, a double T69 at 5100, and probably actually a triple T69. First pick from Virtus.Pro is going to be the AMX 3090 for the middle spot, and the T69 for that burst damage.
And, who would this map favor on paper right now?
Well, I guess in terms of the results as a whole, Virtus.Pro is favored on every single map. But
that's true. But, in aspect of which one do you think Evil Panda squad would have a chance on, would you ever pick Ruinberg?
Yeah, I certainly think they can. I honestly think they can on this one. Ruinberg is not an easy map to control all the variables. They need to surprise Virtus.Pro. They need to do those T1s as best as they can. But the MX 3090 T69 will also be picked by Evil Panda squad. Virtus.Pro picks the T69 and the MX 51 as their third pick. But as I said, Evil Panda squad don't pick anything unusual, but they're going to cast as Curse coming out. They're going to pick the 416 and the T69, so that tier 8 a Russian tank, that medium tank coming out from Evil Panda Squad, as well as the tier 8 medium American tank, the T69. Last pick from Virtus.Pro is the T69. So completely standard from Virtus.Pro, but it looks like Evil Panda Squad are going to go for 2 416s. Right, okay, fair enough. Really putting face in that 320 damage gun. Let's see how that one works. It's got plenty of,
risky,
yeah, really risky. I mean, 1,200 HP is not a lot to play around with. A little bit more than the MX-3090 at 1,100, but at the end of the day, this is awfully risky, especially considering the gun depression of the 416 and where the middle road comes into it. You want to have those T69s as the gun depression tanks. They will be doing all the damage at the beginning, and Evil Panda Squad only have 2, while Virtus.Pro have 3.
I'm worried now for Evil Panda Squad. What are you guys doing to me? Dear Lord. They managed to turn it on an incredible bit of brilliant strategy on Ensk. Now on Ruinberg, they're doing 2 416s? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be judging these guys, but this is pretty insane to me. Guys at home, let us know your thoughts on this. Is this, the absolute undoing of Evil Panda Squad? Because I'm sitting here thinking they may have just, helped Virtus.Pro dig out, Evil Panda Squad's graves for themselves. They're like, okay, do you want to give us a hand? Sure, why not? This is crazy, crazy stuff. Do make sure you get on Twitter and let us know your thoughts towards the 416 coming into play. Is this the time to be using it? I don't think so. Not at 2-1. Not at the turning point where they could go on for a victory here, especially when the T69 has its place on this map. I am baffled as to why they've done this, but maybe, just maybe, this is the variation they needed. This is maybe how they catch Virtus.Pro off. So let's find out with that introduction video towards Ruinberg.
Ruinberg is one of our newest city maps, and it's fairly large, being 800 by 800 meters. There are 3 main routes of attack: the roads leading to the city, the road going through the middle, and the village area. Each of these have 2 important areas to control. The city has very large roads and plenty of opportunities for teams to flank. The long roads also provide for good sniping areas as well as corner shooting. Teams often push through the village area, and once controlled, the team can move on to the enemy's base. You should pick heavy tanks with high alpha damage for corner sniping, as well as a faster tank for the middle spot.
So, welcome back in. I've got to say, Evil Panda Squad stay alive to fight another day. Now onto Ruinberg, where we'll be starting in the south in the gold and yellow, facing off against Virtus.Pro in the north in the blue. Now, what are we seeing so far from these two?
Virtus.Pro is the team that loves that village, but they are going to push up the half moon a little bit more than they are going to push up towards the village, although that 50-100, as expected, is going in that direction. Evil Panda Squad going to the right of the half moon along the houses, which we haven't ever seen from a team before, which I think is a bit ingenious because they have a little bit more cover, they have a little bit better position, but it also means they won't be in position quite as quickly as Virtus.Pro, but because they're not going for that initial engagement, that doesn't matter. But Ace is going to come over the hill, maybe try and engage on Entex, who's not really supported by Amelka at this moment, although he is trying to come around and get himself into a better position. But, Evil Panda Squad completely over towards the half moon, while Virtus.Pro are over towards that village, but they are going to go for the engagement.
This is insane stuff. Lucas already receiving a shell from Entex. Eclipse as well. This is not going good. Virtus.Pro keep the advantage, but Entex being melted down. He's been taken out by that 416 in the hands of Eclipse, but now they need to follow it up, and it's not happened. The tier 1 has fallen, and as has Ace, and now Eclipse is in trouble. The 416 cannot continue. Amelka, though, does get taken low. Maybe they can make it happen. They have. Zenith comes into effect, but there's a reply from Delight going back and forth, tit for tat. But Zenith and Lucas now need to do work. They need to do it damn soon as well. Numocho is on the reload. He is negated from this battle. Lucas must do the damage. He's doing it towards Delight, but is it enough? Numocho comes flying into the battle. Reload seconds away. He's got to make this count. Virtus.Pro have the HP advantage at the moment, but can they keep hold of it?
I think they can. I'm unsure if Evil Panda Squad actually win this one because it does look like Virtus.Pro have the city advantage, but Numocho is going to push on to Delight and Just Cause.
Numocho is going absolutely crazy right now. He's not holding back for a second. Taking one shell, takes the second. He could actually do this. Oh my word, lovely play coming in from Numocho there. Now has to do with Breakneck, however. Not such an easy target. Backing off himself. He has Lucas alive, but not for long. Just Cause has found him, and now Numocho left all alone to save his team. He's received one shell, stays alive, but there's Just Cause. He's got the first onto him. One more, he's done it as well. My word, Numocho Show, you are showing up at this very second, but is it enough to take down Breakneck? That same threat that was such an issue early on, that dear little 1390 now has to face off against a full HP T69.
And he doesn't even have that. It's the 2 T1s he also has to worry about. They can do some serious damage and cause some serious trouble for those for that low armor from the MX-1390. The 20 million spanner is going to come in, but New Show doesn't have the reload, and Las Vegas knows it, so he's going to come in for the ram. He gets so close, but he does 48 damage to himself.
God.
That's the kind of weight differential coming into the equation. Karitsa's going to come around the corner as well, but the thing is, Virtus.Pro kind of already scouted out New Show. They're going to know exactly where he is. Breakneck's not going to be able to connect the shell. He's not even going to get line of sight until...
Oh my God. Ouch. Virtus.Pro, you've just gone and ripped their hopes and dreams away in one sensational shot coming in from Breakneck. I thought that maybe, just maybe, miracles could have happened then, and maybe New Mocho would once again turn up, but that was, well, that was Virtus.Pro just dealing with them rather swiftly, and it was a low-damaging game, pretty much. No one really excelled individually. New Mocho, obviously the highest damage-dealing player for Evil Panda squad, but Breakneck, that final shot, my God.
Ooh. Beautiful.
Wow, that was stunning. If that's on the VOD, make sure you go back and watch that one, because that was insane stuff coming out from him. But yeah, Virtus.Pro 3-1 now. They've got the victory, but I feel as though once again, Evil Panda squad went for a really strange kind of setup there that wasn't great. I love the way it started out, though. There was some, there was some really good side to it, but I don't think it really was the time to be trying that one out.
They really had about a 10 to 15 second window where they could have lost or won or lost the game. They ended up losing it. And that was the window between, they had obviously the first initial damage taking down the T69, which gave them the fact that the 2 T69s which they killed didn't have reload. But and they lost one tier 8 to 2 tier 8s, Virtus.Pro losing the 2. And that gave them the window. But then Virtus.Pro, what they had is that cover from the village, so they could reverse and reload, while Evil Panda squad was stuck in the middle. So Evil Panda squad were kind of a little bit unsure what they would do. And the only one who really pushed up forwards was New Multi-Show. I think the whole team should have done that, get themselves into the village. They would have had the better reloads than Virtus.Pro. I think they would have been able to take down more tanks, certainly be able to take down Breakneck, who was the only one left alive, even though he was on 100% HP. So once Virtus.Pro had the reloads, that was the window over. That was closed, slam, shut. And there's no way Evil Panda squad could have won that from that point onwards, unless New Multi-Show just did something absolutely spectacular and, like, I don't know, Amaracked him or something.
Yeah, there could have been a miracle, but it wasn't to be. So the next map will be Steps. They are getting the tank picking underway, so take us into this one. And, well, it's game over, essentially. Virtus.Pro have claimed the victory. But, 3-2 is not a bad scoreline overall. What are they going for so far?
It's going to be one of the many 3-2s if Virtus.Pro do end up losing this they've had this season, which is quite surprising. I don't know. I mean, Season 1, they literally 3-0'd every single time before we had the have to play all 5-map rule. So that's changed a lot, and that's certainly interesting. And it kind of shows how much the Evil Panda squads and the Kazakus and Dinovas and guys like that have really stepped up their game here into Season 3. So double T1 from both teams. Obviously, this is Steps, so we see this map being the biggest in terms of variation, the tank lineup. So we're going to be seeing a mixture of Pershings, 416s, AMX-3090s, and T69s, I imagine. Double AMX-3090 is going to be Evil Panda Squad's next pick, and that goes to Virtus.Pro as well. But here we go, the Pershing and that T69 from Evil Panda Squad. But Virtus.Pro going for the extra MX-3090 as well as the Pershing. Last pick from Evil Panda Squad will be the Pershing. Last pick from Virtus.Pro will be the 416. So the only real difference is the fact that Evil Panda Squad have gone for a little bit more of a fast lineup with the extra MX-3090, while Virtus.Pro have kind of counterbalanced that a little bit with the 416, which is almost as fast as the MX-3090, while Evil Panda Squad gone for something a little bit slower in the form of that Pershing. So they've gone for 2 Pershings, 2 MX-1390s, 2 T1s, and yeah, that's pretty much it, and a T69. Well, Virtus.Pro, they've gone for the 416, the Pershing, and the triple MX-1390 alongside those 2 T1 Cunninghams.
Well, let's find out if Evil Panda Squad can get that at least close scoreline into this one, and get that 3-2. That's what they're going to be wanting here. It'd be a respectable score against Virtus.Pro, who are, I believe, second currently in the rankings, only second to Dignitas, who have been so good. But Evil Panda Squad, they looked strong. What they did on Ruinberg was brave, but it wasn't well executed. But then you look back to Ensk, it was sensational. But maybe we'll see something like that on the one, the only Steps.
Steps is the other open map in the map pool, being 1000 by 1000, having no urban areas. There are 3 primary routes of attack: the trench, the rocky area to the left, and the middle road. The road offers direct routes to the enemy's base, but despite having a staggering amount of cover along the way, you are vulnerable to attack from all sides. The trench area provides for great engagements as it's only a few hills and rocks to cover the teams. Most of the engagements occur around this rock, the winner of which gains a crucial foothold on the map. The rocky left area provides the most cover for attacking and defending teams. It's essential that you pick tanks that can traverse from one side of the map to the other rapidly. They also must be able to get to the various key locations as quickly as possible. That is the key to victory.
So, welcome into the 5th and final map, which will be Steps, and in the north, in the gold and yellow, it's Evil Panda Squad, currently looking to pick up a second map here to get that nice close scoreline against Virtus.Pro at 3-2, but in the south, it's Virtus.Pro trying to stop them and get a 4-1 victory and a rather clean slate end. What are we seeing so far?
Virtus.Pro going on the defensive straight away, putting most of their firepower in their base, or keeping the most of the firepower in their base. The only one really going forwards is Breakneck in his Pershing, trying to get the hold down position, while Evil Panda Squad, completely standard start for them. I would have expected them to try something new, as they have been countered every single time by Virtus.Pro, apart from on that one map. So they got all the trench. That's only the T1 sitting back in A5, and they got the other AMX3090 there as well, in case Virtus.Pro go for the flank, which we can see they are in the form of Just Cause. He's going around the side, as we would expect. It's what we see. But the Pershing's doing a good job. Just Cause is keeping the pressure on. It's making Evil Panda think twice before pushing. It's making Evil Panda think, how many tanks have Virtus.Pro have got there? How many tanks have they got there to try and do the damage? I mean, they don't know that Just Cause is around in the MX3090. They don't know that they, outfire, they out DPS. They have 5 against 4. They don't know that even Breakneck is on his own. And really, if they pushed him, there's not really that much he could do.
And this is the beauty of World of Tanks. It's that kind of cat and mouse game, and it's all about the information. And Evil Panda Squad are going for a bit of an all-in, bearing in mind that they know very little facts. Numolcho, Zenef, all pushing down that zero line, looking to maybe catch out Breakneck, who was, as you mentioned, on a bit of a limb there, just out on his own, trying to scout it out, and they haven't spotted anyone else yet. So maybe this is going to start ringing those alarm bells, thinking, okay, why aren't we making something happen here? And look at that, you can see the turrets turning in complete unison towards Breakneck as he peered up on that map once again. Eclipse and Ace all sitting back in the usual position. Lucas, Numolcho, and Zenef are the ones to split off, but Breakneck has taken down the T1. But will he expect the 3 other tanks waiting on the other side of the hill right now? Numolcho peers up, as does Zenef. Not spotted yet. Here comes that first fire. Now here comes the rest of it. 3 tanks focusing him down. Breakneck on 944 HP. Lucas now wants to get onto the action. That T69 looking raring to go. And they're still waiting to see if anyone else will appear over that horizon, over the defilade of the hill. And no one has so far. This is showing so much right now. But the rest of Virtus.Pro are now appearing. Sony has spread out that one tank, moving towards the cap point. And so much information has been found in so little time.
What I love is that Breakneck is just standing his ground. He's not... it's not retreating for anyone. He's not going back, which is keeping Virtus.Pro in this game right now. Otherwise, I'd say Evil Panda Squad have it in terms of HP. Breakneck's only 2 shots away from dying, depending on the kind of damage you can do, probably from that 416. But Ace is going to come round.
Yeah, they are moving in right now, but Ace gets swatted away. Delight comes in from afar, lands some great shells, and he looks to make some further shells connect towards Lucas as well. And this is not an easy task. They cannot get towards Breakneck. As you mentioned, he's that key player. He's been holding them in place, and they just cannot push towards him. That T69, though, coming over the hill, using that gun depression, does get the connection they desperately needed. One more shell, and Breakneck's out of there, and finally, they take him down. Lucas allows some pressure to be alleviated, but does receive 2 shells back as well. Left on the reload, Virtus.Pro now may be vulnerable.
But the thing is, Virtus.Pro have HP. All their tanks have HP. Well, look at Evil Panda Squad, all damaged up. Yeah, he's 375. Lucas Isti, 300. Zenef on 628. Well, we see we got Amelka on 100%. We got Entex on 100%. And the other 2 only taking about 1 shot. Although Breakneck's down, He's in a Pershing, so he doesn't really do that much damage full stop. And Virtus.Pro have the positional advantage, and they have about 6 minutes and 5 seconds to really make that count.
Yeah, and this is where you feel the pinch. It's all the kind of tactical small parts that add up. The Virtus.Pro are just so good at that clinical play. The way you saw Breakneck playing them was absolutely inspired. That is exactly how you need to play it. You know, the fear of what lays behind, you know, just one tank of that can hold a whole team up, which is exactly what we saw. But Evil Panda Squad are trying to rotate here. They are at least making their way back, not necessarily to, you know, rotate all the way around, but to more of a defensive posture possibly. Maybe that factor of HP lacking in their squad is really starting to, you know, come into effect. Yeah,
that's exactly it. I'm a little bit skeptical of what really Virtus.Pro can do here, because the one problem they do have right now is they have, you know, only 3 autoloaders. They have one who's not on autoloader, which could be disastrous when it comes down to that firefight. Because at the end of the day, if you have tanks on low HP, you want the autoloader there because it just obliterates tanks on low HP. Well, if you have, let's say, a Pershing, I'll have to wait the 6.5 seconds for the reload before finally finishing off that tank. Let's say instead of the 2.5 seconds or the 3 seconds for the T69 and the AMX 1390 respectively. But Virtus.Pro, they do have a good amount of HP, so all they need to find is Lucas Yisti or Ace. Take him out as quickly as possible. And then they've evened up the scoreline, they've evened up the tanks being killed. They can push in with their Object 416, which can really just blast away New Multi Show on 100% HP, and Eclipse, who's almost on 100. Well, he's on about 60%, I would say. But it's been a pretty good move from Evil Panda Squad. They're quite happy to sit backwards. They're not letting Virtus.Pro in. It's exactly what they should be doing.
I was about to say, tier points in mind. Obviously, Breakneck being down, and obviously Evil Panda Squad only losing the 2 tier 1s, they have the advantage in that aspect. So surely playing passively now should allow them, you know, at least to kind of let Virtus.Pro come towards them, even if we do consistently say taking the initiative does normally pay off. If you have the advantage, you need to play to the best ability of using it. So surely what they're doing right now by turtling down a bit and saying, okay, we'll just cover it off, you guys can come to us, is the better move of the two.
Yeah, and you've got to remember that Evil Panda Squad have the 8 points advantage they need. If this clock does tick down to 0, which we're on 3 minutes and 50 seconds, Evil Panda Squad will win. I mean, obviously Virtus.Pro is 3-1 up, so it won't make that much of a difference in the end. It is all on to Virtus.Pro right now. They have to make the first move. Evil Panda Squad obviously don't want to do that. They've done something quite sneaky, though. They've sent one tank up behind. He's there to try and deal with Just Cause, and Just Cause has absolutely no idea. I think he thought he could spot out, but because of this little hill, you see, he's not going to get spotted out at all. He's going to be able to stay right where he is, but he has got to move now. He's got to get into a position because you can see Virtus.Pro are on the offensive.
Yeah, they are starting to make their move. Numolcho is nowhere to be found right now. The rest of the side could be in trouble. He has finally got himself around towards where the opposition is making their move, you know, from and to. So he could be able to catch that player, as you mentioned, just in front of him. He has sprayed out Just Cause on 855. He's going to land these shells one after the other. And well, actually, no, tell a lie. He landed one, but one came back immediately. So this is actually a bit of a hard-fought battle, but the rest of Virtus.Pro now appearing on the horizon, applying pressure towards Eclipse immediately. Delight receives a shell, but they're not stopping at all. They're going to make their move and make it now. Entex is pushing forward. Those 1390s just flying past Lucas and Ace, just trying to lay in wait, but Delight's the first one to receive the real damage. Eclipse could be cottoned down, though. Look at that Entex just straight away in there, takes out that Pershing. Zenith now so far away from the rest of his squad, he's going to have to make this one count. He's done just that. Takes out Delight. Now Amelka and Entex hot on his feet. He's not going to be able to get away. Surely not with that 416. Landing shell after shell, and he will not indeed. And we are going to see if Evil Panda Squad can hold on to this now.
It's only New Multi Show. It's all on his back. Once again, he's on 635. Ace is there as well, but Lucas Yisti is on very low damage. And these two have been going 1 versus 1, back and forwards, and it's been a perfect situation for Virtus.Pro because New Multi Show had the most amount of HP, but I think he's just going to go for it.
Yeah, he's just going to push in right now. The T1 makes his way around, but there's the shell that, well, Just Cause was not going to miss. He lands it, takes him down, and now just the 2 remaining tanks have no backup coming. They are all alone. There is no support anywhere to be found. Entex, Amelka, Just Cause, they're all on the reload, but they're going to be up very, very quickly. I think Entex is now completely up and ready for this one. Amelka comes in, and it's only Ace standing in a 1v3. As much as I'd love to see him do this, I think it's game over, and I think he knows it. Evil Panda Squad could not quite deal with Virtus.Pro in the end. That minuscule decision just to keep New Multi Show busy may have just allowed allowed them into this game and may have just allowed them to win this 4-1. And there we have it. Virtus.Pro will pick up the last map here, and they look so damn good this season. It's only a matter of time until they'll be challenging for that #1 spot.
Indeed, I think Team Dignitas has got to be looking behind them saying, God damn it, these guys are catching up again. We've got to up our game. But then again, I honestly think that Dinova actually played the better games, and I think Kazaku, in some respects, are the better teams than Evil Panda Squad. So I would be worrying about Dinova.
Risky call there. That's some big calls coming out.
I would be worried about Dinova as much as I'd be worried about Virtus.Pro, and I'm really looking forward to seeing those two fight and go up against each other in the coming match days. But that was really a matter of time. I think Virtus.Pro, because of the kind of HP they had, and I think New Mojo being a little bit scared to push onto Just Cause, what he had to do was, because Just Cause was an 855 in his AMX 3090, he's already one shot down. New Mojo had to go in, connect the first shell, and just carry on going, because at the end of the day, if you're one shot down, you're going against a tank of the same class. You do 240 average damage. You're always going to win that firefight. So just really bad decision making for New Mojo, not managing to go 1 versus 1, which is kind of surprising considering he's won the most one-on-one cups in the whole of World of Tanks ESL. So not very good. I think Evil Panda Squad maybe shouldn't have turtled down quite as much. They should have maybe rotated alongside to the right, gone towards that rocky side, instead of just going where Virtus.Pro knew they would go, towards the trench, towards the back. And again, Virtus.Pro, even one tank down, they can find themselves a way in. Just don't worry about that at all. They're consistent.
They certainly are. We've seen that today. So it's been an impressive game day all over, though, I've got to say. We've seen some brilliant games. So, guys, if you have enjoyed it, obviously check out the WoTProLeague.com site. Look through all the other VODs as well, because I assure you, every single playday has been to this kind of standard. Hell, you only have to look back to Kazaku and Spale to see that, which was the last one. So, hope you guys have enjoyed it. But before we close out the show, before we get to, ready to go out the door, there's obviously someone waiting who's been kind of dealing with you guys in Twitch chat, who's dying to get back into here, to let you guys know and let us know how you guys thought that one was going to pan out, because I thought it'd be a little bit closer than that personally. I thought maybe a 3-2, and it was close to it. Don't get me wrong, it was close, but Virtus.Pro did not allow that to happen on the last map. So Melly, how are we doing over there, and how did the people at home actually predict that one going?
Please don't forget me.
Would I ever? Would I ever?
Well, the community has spoken. 72% for Virtus.Pro, and we had a handful of people guessing the exact right outcome of this match.
Wow.
I wouldn't have guessed so, to be honest.
No, not 4-1. I think Evil Panda Squad, they were in 4th position. They were fairly strong. I thought maybe, a little bit closer, but
exactly.
Virtus.Pro, too
so
strong.
that was completely unforeseeable for me, at least.
Yep.
For you at home, definitely not. So we saw this exact matchup played on the offline, on Gamescom.
Yes.
Could you people tell some differences from the gameplay, maybe? Or it's
offline
it's an interesting.
is different.
I mean, literally, like offline World of Tanks is kind of strange, because sometimes online World of Tanks can be quite slow and precise, but offline everyone just goes mental and just like charges into each other. So
see, the thing is, right, I'd never cast an offline World of Tanks event before Gamescom. So I'd done the season, building up, and you were like, you do realize when they get to these offline events, it's just like it's insane. They just go pretty crazy. I'm just like, okay, sure. I expected like maybe
she literally said that we had this conversation.
Yeah, we did have this conversation. I was like, okay, it's probably gonna be Kazaku going, stupid and just charging at people.
Spell's not there, so
yeah,
it's
exactly. Someone's got to do it, right? And literally, the first 2 games, I was like, oh my god, why don't we get this every week? And to be fair, this season, it's been fairly close too. It's not so. There's not such a disparity anymore. But the offline World of Tanks, my god, when there's that crowd in front of them, you can hear people cheering them away. It's just incredible atmosphere. They just go absolutely mental. So, offline World of Tanks is something to be watched for sure. I'm certainly never going to miss an offline event again, because especially in the European region, I always find they go a little bit mental.
They do. I don't know what happens. Everyone just has like a haze. I don't know. But yeah, I think the only... it was a 4-1 result anyway. I think, it was 4-1 for Virtus.Pro, obviously, at Gamescom. So it's the same result, but I think, honestly, Evil Panda Squad threw a couple of games at Gamescom, and I honestly don't think they did this time. They're definitely a better team. They didn't throw any games. I think Virtus.Pro just outplayed them a little bit more here.
Yeah.
And how much does the winnable amount of money, well, it's a big amount of money, to be honest. How much does the prize money takes effect in the game style of...
See, the thing is, in my eyes, normally people at offline events play more conservative, because there's you know, like 20 grand on the line because of one decision you make. You know what I mean? It can be that simple between first and second, and things like that can really come into effect. And most people do slow down. They play more passively. They play more defensively. They play, you know, carefully, because one choice between first and second is, I believe, about 30 grand, actually. So if you make the wrong choice and you go, you know, a bit aggressive, you're like, oh, it's the first map, but that first map costs you the whole game eventually. You're like, well, I could have, you know, bought a nice little flat for that one, but now I'm going to have to deal with living in my car again. So it really does make a big difference. And normally you see games being more defensive, more passive. While the tanks, they go, hell, let's just go crazy and let's go aggressive, because why the hell not? We are manly men. You know what I mean? They don't mess around.
That definitely seems like that, yeah. And as you at home know, you have the chance of getting rewarded as one of the 3 tweets of the day by just simply tweeting. And we had a question. We asked you guys which maps you would ban. Okay. So people at home were pretty smart. They asked the question and then told which map they would ban. So we have questions and, yeah, the maps of the banned maps of the people. So Rolf says, is there any planned changes in Season 4 regarding the qualifications, regarding prize money, or even the rules? And he would ban Abby.
And he would ban Abby, just at the end there, just going to slide that in. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot to be discussed in that.
Yeah,
it's,
I mean,
it's kind of early days.
We can't really say anything about Season 4, to be honest. It's all kind of, well, it's just, we can't talk about it. It's full stop, to be honest.
To be fair, we're on Matchday 13.
Yeah, it's a bit early to be talking about Season 4 at this point in time. So, yeah, no, I can't really answer anything about it at this point.
Yeah, a little bit hush.
Sorry.
Okay.
But Abby's a good call. I'll give you that one.
Oh, come on, I like Abby.
So Gabriel says, because I favor aggressive playstyle, I would ban Himmelsdorf because of the cover density it provides. And his question is, how would it be for the competing teams to be unaware of enemy tank picks, or at least have some picks hidden?
Yeah, I mean, some of the other regions in the Wargame.net League do actually run that system where you have to send in your tank picks to the organizers beforehand, and then you play it out like that. And to be honest, I don't like it personally, because I quite like, I mean, at the moment, the tank picks have only just started to pick up again. Beforehand, it was just the standard stuff, but now we have the 416 and the Pershing coming a little bit more.
I do like the counter picks.
I really enjoy that. I think, I hope you guys enjoy that as well. That's why we keep it in. I don't like just this anonymity. We're just sending your lineups in, and to be honest, it can promote variation, because you can just pick a crazy lineup and the other team won't know what it is.
But it's cheesy, though.
But the thing, yeah, as well, it's cheesy, but you go into a training room anyway, so the other team's going to see it, and they're going to come up with a lineup. So it's not like you're in a special battle system where you get an invite and you join and the other team can't see, and there's no fog of war. So at the end of the day, I think our system is just, it makes the teams think. It keeps the games interesting. It allows everyone to see, you know, how the game is evolving. And I think with the new team mode, 7-on-7 mode coming in, it allows you guys to really come up with some ingenious strategies, watch the top players, watch what they're picking, and just show the level of thought and the depth of analysis that comes in from these guys. There's some serious theory crafting.
Okay, so thank you very much. Saul would really like to see some snowy maps in the Pro League. Some of those winter camo patterns look awesome.
I kind of agree. They do look really good. But is there any maps that really kind of allow for competitive play? Like, a lot of the Arctic region kind of stuff is very biased towards one side. And generally the maps we have are fairly even spread. You know what I mean? Like, there's no huge advantage to the north or the south spawn or anything like that. It's... Would we kind of negate that if we brought in something of the kind of Arctic nature? I honestly, not a massive fan of Arctic region. We did actually have it in Go 4. Didn't like it that much. We've got Tundra as well. Not a massive fan of that map either. To be honest, if there's any map we do add, it will be Cliff. Because I think it's a really good esports map, and it's pretty balanced altogether. We might add some snow on it, have a snow shower. If we can add some graphics to that, might be cool. But yeah, I think Cliff is the only one. I don't think we're looking at any winter maps at this point in time.
Okay, so last question of the night is: do we know where the finals will take part?
You sure that's not the teams?
All the big questions.
The teams,
some guys just, it's probably like, I don't know, someone, one of the teams is just,
Team Dignitas, Team Dognitas, no one knows.
Yeah, exactly,
No.
No, we can't say anything about the offline finals. to be honest. We know, well, all we've announced so far is that they won't be in December, they'll be in January. So that's the only thing we've released. We can't tell you where they will be. So yeah, sorry. We have to be secretive, man. It's a surprise.
Sure. People
Everyone
have to
everyone
keep
loves
watching
surprises.
our shows, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we'll slip in some information during the next shows. Nobody knows, so tune definitely in.
Yeah.
And, well, that's all from me.
Wow. We've had some hard questions here today. I feel like we've been, like, interviewed by, some TV presenter, like, the hard
I've got a sneaky suspicion it's probably the teams just putting us on the spot.
Melly's been paid off by, like, a couple of players. Like, we'll just ask that question, see if we can get anything out of them. Just 10 euros here and there, just thrown in. I'm like, oh, God's sake, Melly.
Couple of postcards.
If you don't send postcards, no, I'm kidding. Don't encourage this behaviour. Look, you're a bad person. She gets fan mail. It's very cute. It's very nice. We do like Melly here because she gets fan mail. That's about it, really. And she brings us sweets as well.
That's true. Yeah.
We are jealous deep down. My heart, it bleeds. But anyway, we had some great games today. We had some great questions from you as well, guys at home. Do make sure you keep getting involved every time the show goes live because we really do love hearing from you, especially via Twitter. I'm a big fan of Twitter. I do like tweeted questions. And we had some really cool stuff tweeted as well. I've got to say it. I believe it was Simple Tankers who actually tweeted during this show saying, shout out to the whole league. Love your shows. Love how you promote the sport. Keeping up. Which I think is really cool to see that people from every other region, because I believe they're an NA team, actually do enjoy even just the European shows. And it's all about getting involved throughout every single region that World of Tanks obviously is in, especially the Pro League. So guys, hopefully you guys have fun. Hopefully you guys at home did have fun. I nailed the outro today. But because we did here in the studio, I know we had some great games. And it's good seeing Virtus.Pro looking pretty damn strong here. I've got to say it.
I love to see how strong they are. Although I think they got outrun a little bit by Dinova, to be honest.
Denova fanboy in the corner. Next week, you'll see him in the T-shirt and everything. Oh, Lord. Stop it. Right, I'm going to close out the show now because this is just terrible. Anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed it, which I hope you have, make sure you tune back in on Thursday the 24th. We'll be going live with Matchday 14. We'll be there. Hopefully, you'll be as well.